Well, there's a critical balance. You know, one of the things that we want to understand as we approach this very critical battle to keep our community, our country, and our state safe is that we don't give up the basic freedoms or rights that make America unique and safe. But having said that, there are very strong differences that I have, again, with her on that. If a known al-Qaeda terrorist operative is operating in a different country and makes a communication into America, we know they're not calling the shopping network. We know they're calling for bad reasons. And I think we ought to be involved in finding out who they're calling and listen to that conversation if it's a known terrorist. On the other hand, if it's you calling your mom on Sunday, absolutely not. We ought to have a warrant. I understand those issues. I'm a member of the Joint Terrorism Task Force with the FBI. Every day I go to bed thinking about what's the worst thing that could happen, not only in Michigan but in America, and what can I do personally to mitigate that situation and, if necessary, respond to that situation. We need a practitioner in Washington that gets it and will, again, more importantly, get results on it. I can give you a list of things that they need to fix and haven't addressed.
Senator?
Well, thank you. We absolutely need a balance between going after the terrorists, which I support, and in fact, as a member of the Banking Committee, I authored very successful new law that tracks money, and it's been one of the most important ways we've been able to track down the terrorists. But there is a critical balance between our personal freedoms as Americans and what makes us great, and making sure we are safe. And I have voted in a way that allows us to do both. I want to go back, though, to the other question and indicate that I'm so proud to have the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce endorsement because of my fight successfully on behalf of Michigan businesses. I authored a manufacturing tax cut that is now in the books that says if you create jobs here in America, rather than overseas, you get a better tax rate, a lower tax rate, and that's what we need to be doing in this country. I'm championing an effort with a colleague, a Republican colleague, to create a U.S. trade prosecutor to fight for American businesses and American workers. There's nobody in Washington who understands better than I do what's at stake for our middle-class way of life, and I'm fighting for it every day.
Our next question is for Senator Stabenow from Peter Ross. Peter?
Senator, it's often said that it's not so much a matter of if, but when our country will face another terrorist attack. Do you agree with that? And if so, where are we now most vulnerable?
I believe we are most vulnerable in not fully endorsing and passing the 9/11 Commission report. This President, this Republican Congress received failing grades on keeping us safe here at home. I've led the effort to create interoperability on communications and to fight for those things that help our local police and firefighters get what they need right here. As a result, I've been honored to receive the Legislator of the Year award from the Michigan Police Chiefs Association and then separately the Michigan Fire Chiefs Association because of the work that I have done here. Working with my colleagues across the island, Michigan, we have tripled the number of border security at our border. I've been able to bring in dollars for our sheriffs across the state, including, I might add, our sheriff here tonight in Oakland County, and I was very proud to do that.
Sheriff?
Well, again, I think we're having more talk here versus reality in Washington. I serve as the Major County Sheriffs of America Government Affairs Chair. We meet regularly with the major county sheriffs. We represent 100 million people and the major city chiefs. And we meet on Homeland Security issues. And all of the leaders in the United States Senate and House come to our meetings, talk with us, and work with us. She's never visited a meeting. So I'm not sure how she's a leader in that regard. But to go into a number of the issues, again, we need somebody that understands those issues from a practical point of view. Just throwing money at a problem isn't a solution. We've seen Homeland Security funding become pork barrel funding. They're buying kennels for dogs in other states. They're buying workout equipment. We need to have risk-based assessment driven by people who understand the problem and know the solutions. Clearly, she doesn't have that, and they don't get it. They're well-intentioned, but well-intentioned doesn't get us results. And we need results, especially in this. In my business, if you don't fix a problem, people can die.
Our next question is for Sheriff Bouchard. Sheriff, the Social Security tax ends at about $94,000, and some say we could go a long way to securing the system by taxing amounts above $94,000 without expanding benefits. Would you support this, yes or no? And if not, how would you shore up Social Security?
Certainly, I think that's a critical issue, and that brings up another very real difference between myself and my opponent. She's voted to increase taxes on Social Security. She voted actually to give them to illegal immigrants, although she says she doesn't. The reality is there in the record. And if you run through and look at that situation, we need to fix that situation. We need people who are willing to put the partisan politics aside and fix a problem that's clear and obvious, because there are men and women at home that are worried, and rightfully so, whether that will be there for them after a lifetime of work, and how we can enter into a dialogue where we're going to give it to millions of people that are here, A, illegally, and B, committing identity theft is just fundamentally wrong. I won't support that. So I will look at every option with a bipartisan group that will solve the problem instead of trying to make political hay with it. That's what we deserve. That's what Michigan needs. That's what Washington needs, is less of the partisan wrangling, less of the stuff throwing sand in a sandbox, filibusters and those kinds of activity. We need action and results. We need it now.
Senator, a yes or no on whether you would support taxing amounts above $94,000 to shore up Social Security, and if not, how you would shore up the system?
I believe there are other alternatives, and let me go back to what my opponent just said. It's absolutely ridiculous what he said. Social Security is not given to illegal immigrants, and I did not vote to do that, period. So let's just set the record straight. But we do have major differences. I believe Social Security is a great American success story. My opponent supports private accounts that would begin to privatize and unravel Social Security. I was very proud to help lead the effort that stopped the President Bush effort to privatize Social Security in the last Congress. And I will continue to lead efforts to stop the privatization. What we need to be doing is cutting down on the national debt and strengthening Social Security by putting more dollars into that system rather than other areas that certainly are pork barrel spending. Social Security is a great American success story. I want to keep the security in Social Security. And if I might just say, back to the other point on Homeland Security, my opponent sent me a thank you note for money he received as a result of my help. And in that letter, he even asked for more money to do more things.
Senator, thank you. And our next question is for Senator Stabenow from Rachel Ruiz. Rachel?
Senator Stabenow, voters I've spoken with say they're disillusioned by the mudslinging that takes place during this, that has taken place during this election. And you both have endorsed critical acts.